In the Watch Order Task Force, the movies are represented by idiots who think they know the perfect sequence in which viewing pleasure can be achieved. These are their excuses.
Hey there, I'm Watch Order Cadet AP, and today I'm on my 5th assignment in the Watch Order Task Force. The captain says if I crack this case today, he'll let me clean out the old case file storage room where all them big spiders are lurking. I'm a lucky boy. So, what is today's assignment? Well, I will tell you what today's assignment is. I will be looking through 4 franchises today. It's a big one today. It's a really big case. The captain has a lot of trust in me. I will be looking at the Spider-Man franchises. So let's just give a little quick summary of what movie franchises I'll be looking at and how I will be judging them all to give you the best watch order for the best viewing pleasure. So let's have a look. So we've got 4 separate franchises we're going to look at here. We've got the original Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi trilogy. I'm going to pick one of those to represent that trilogy. So we got those 3 movies of the original Spider-Man trilogy. We've then got the 2 movies from the Amazing Spider-Man films that's featured Andrew Garfield, and they were directed by Mark Webb, which is such an awesome name for a director for a Spider-Man movie. That's it's like he was made. That name, he was made to direct the Spider-Man movie, wasn't he? Next, then we have the Into the Spider-Verse movie, the animated movie, which, you know, some people may say it's unfair to feature that because there's only one movie so far. But I think, you know what, let's just throw it in there. Let's go for the whole bunch of these massive Spider-Man movies that have made a load of money at the box office. And so that'll be the 3rd choice. And then the 4th one we're going to look at is the Spider-Man Home trilogy. This is the trilogy starring Tom Holland, and this leads into, you know, the last, the most recent Spider-Man live-action movie, Far From Home. No Way Home. I get confused with all these names. No Way Home, that's correct. So that's 4 different franchises. I'm going to, obviously the ones where they've got more than one movie in the trilogy or the 2, I'm going to pick one movie to represent them. And as I said, you know, this isn't a one where, it's not a ranking system as such. It's not me saying this one's the very worst one to watch. This is me telling you, as a Watch Order Cadet, the best order of watching these movies for viewing pleasure. So I'm going to give you the first choice, so the best viewing pleasure of a Spider-Man movie, the one you really want to watch first out of the 4 franchises. Then I'm going to give you my second choice. Then I'm going to give you my 3rd choice, and then I'm going to give you my 4th and final choice. The last choice I feel is the kind of the one you should watch last, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad franchise. And I will get into that. The deeper I dive into this discussion today for this case. So let's crack on. Let's go for it. So it's the Watch Order Task Force case file of Spider-Man movies. Let's get to it. So my first choice today on this case file, the franchise I think you should start off with in this watch order for the best viewing pleasure as a movie viewer. I'm going to say this up front as well. There will be spoilers for the latest Spider-Man movie. If you've not watched it, I still feel like it's still fresh for some people, and I know there was a lot of delays. But there will be spoilers for that movie ahead. So if you've not watched it still, I don't want to spoil it for you. If you've not watched it, maybe come back at a later point when you've watched that movie. So there will be spoilers ahead from this point. But I'm going to go with my first choice in these franchises, the Spider-Man Home trilogy, the latest trilogy of movies starring Tom Holland as Peter Parker as Spider-Man, directed by John Watts. And this started with the Homecoming movie that was released in 2017. Then we had Far From Home, which was 2019. And then the more recent one, No Way Home. Obviously, each one featuring that word home. which is a really yeah, I like that. I think it's cool. It's a cool little way they've done it. I'm going to choose to represent this trilogy, the final one in the trilogy, the No Way Home. Gotta say, first up, this was hard to pick one to represent. I was honestly torn between. I think they're all good in this trilogy, but I think I was torn between the first one, Homecoming, and No Way Home. And I think Homecoming, I would have chose it as a solo movie, just to feature the one Spider-Man because it's just an epic movie and it's got a great villain. But I feel with everything that went on in No Way Home, all the characters that were involved, I think I couldn't not mention this movie and I couldn't have that not represent this trilogy in the Watch Order Task Force. So 2021 movie, No Way Home, the third movie in the Tom Holland trilogy. This is just an epic conclusion to this trilogy, but it also leaves a lot of room for the future Tom Holland movies, if we do get more. I'm sure we will, or whatever goes on further in this, in this Spider-Man movie universe, whether it be a Miles Morales coming in to the fold at some point as well. I think there's tons of opportunities in this universe, but this was a grand spectacle of a movie. It kind of was like an Avengers level movie, but with Spider-Man characters. As we all know now, this movie seen the return of both Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Andrew Garfield's incarnation of Spider-Man as well, from the two movie franchises they were featured in before this trilogy of movies. And it was heavily rumoured for ages. It was kind of like one of those secrets in Hollywood that was kind of like everyone knew about, but we all still went into the cinemas thinking maybe it won't happen. But everyone kind of knew, and then we see like the likes of Matt Murdock, the guy from the TV show, the Daredevil TV show, featuring this movie as well in a small role. But I think, the big ones obviously were having them returning Spider-Man and then having them this big multiverse epic movie, and you see a lot of the villains from the different franchises coming to this movie as well. You have Willem Dafoe's iconic Green Goblin return, which was amazing to see. We see a bunch of the villains from the Amazing Spider-Man universe as well. And also you see them, interact. We see Doc Ock as well from Spider-Man 2. That was awesome. It was just a fantastic movie. And I don't get me wrong, I think there's certainly parts when I did a review on this on the Movie Cheer podcast. I did say, it's a great movie. There's definitely stuff in it I didn't enjoy as much. I felt like at some points there was way too many jokes in it at times. But they were kind of like really small critiques, and that was just a personal critique. But overall, I thought the movie was great. I thought it was a great, entertaining movie. I absolutely loved that scene at the end when all the Spider-Man are working together, and you just see them like just running on like the scaffolds, and they're running. They do like the big Spider-Man pose. It was amazing. It was superb, and it was amazing in the cinema. The feeling in the cinema when, again, it felt like we all knew it was coming, but even though we knew it was coming, when it happened, it was just so awesome to see. It was the first time as well, we had all like the stuff with COVID, returned to the cinemas, and I didn't know what the reactions would be. People were clapping, they were cheering when the characters of like Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire returned, and even when Matt Murdock was there, they were clapping, they were cheering. It was such a really different experience in a cinema, and I really enjoyed it. It was an experience I will always remember, just to see that. And look, I will say I'm not like the biggest Spider-Man fan. I gotta say though, until now, I feel like now I've rewatched all these movies, or certainly the ones that I'm gonna use to represent these movies today. I've rewatched them, and I feel like, what, I feel like I've got a bit more of like fan, like a fan love, maybe like a bit more of a fanboy approach to these movies now. I kind of enjoy them a lot more, and maybe I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest Spider-Man fan in the world. Superheroes, it's for me, it's Batman. But watching these back, I have really enjoyed them, and it's made me enjoy the character of Spider-Man a lot more. So first choice is the Home trilogy. I think The first movie is great, the second one is great as well, but the third movie, which represents this trilogy today, makes it an ultimate movie for Spider-Man fans. And if you are looking for the best viewing pleasure, you've got to start off with this movie. This is a great movie. Check them all out, but this is my first one in this case file on this assignment today. So now it's over to choice number 2. What would be my second choice for the best viewing pleasure of Spider-Man movies? Well, I will say this. This was... I feel torn because I've really... I'll tell you now, behind the scenes, I'm recording this. It's in the afternoon I'm recording this. Done all my notes for this episode today earlier on in the morning. So maybe a couple of hours ago. And rewatched a couple of these movies, but upon watching these back now, I shifted all my results, and my second choice changed. Well, basically the second, third, and fourth choice all changed around, and maybe this is the thing, isn't it? As a movie fan, anyone who enjoys movies, I always say this: I can always change my mind on a movie, and I do change my mind quite often. I flip flop. And look, I'm going to give the captain my results today. I'm going to give him my choices. Hopefully the captain gives me the okay, but this is between you and me. This is between you and me. Don't tell the captain this. This is off the record. I may change my mind again in the future, but don't tell the captain. Keep stum. Yeah, but this has been. I do feel like I'm kind of like torn a bit here, but I'm gonna go with this for my second choice. I'm gonna go with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies, and to represent these 2 movies, I'm gonna go with the first movie. I've rewatched this one, and this is the 2 movies featuring Andrew Garfield, directed by Mark Webb. Emma Stone stars as Gwen Stacy. We see the villains of like Electro and the Lizard. In the first one, obviously the one I'm talking about today, the Lizard is the main villain in this movie. But I remember watching this at the time at the cinema and not being wowed by this movie. I walked out and thought, you know what, it was okay. I thought it was like a mediocre superhero movie. But I watched this again, and I got to be honest, I've not watched it in a good while, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe it's seeing Andrew Garfield in the more recent one and enjoying him in that one. And for me, my second choice originally was going to be the OG trilogy. I'll say that right now. But I changed my mind upon rewatch because I think the first movie, the first Amazing Spider-Man film, is just a spectacular story. It's very different from the Tobey Maguire one. It feels like the tone, it's like they tried to make it a bit more realistic. It weren't as comic book cheesy. It was like, let's try and make this a more grounded Spider-Man, as grounded as we possibly can with this character. And look, it's still a comic book movie, it's an entertainment movie, but I feel like it's a bit more grounded than what we got in the Sam Raimi movies, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think it works better. And like I said, I watched it at the cinema the first time years ago. I mean, this was out. The first one was out 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man. The sequel was out 2014. So 10 years ago now, it's 2022 as of recording this. That was out in 2012. I watched it, I wasn't blown away. Maybe watched it a few times since, but then obviously rewatching it now today, and just I thought it was a really good film. I thought it was really enjoyable. I thought the pacing of the movie didn't feel like it dropped the pace at all. The story was always engaging. I like the villain, the Lizard, and it kind of, in my mind, I was thinking the Lizard's a bit of a poor villain, but it worked really well. I like the origin story, the way it's connected to his father in this the start of this story, and then we see him interacting with Kurt Connors, and then he becomes the villain, the Lizard, and then we see them battling as Spider-Man and the Lizard. And yeah, I think it's a great story. I think the visuals are great. When he's swinging around the city, it looks stunning. It looks absolutely stunning. I think for me, big standout is the score. I think the score, I think it's by James Horner, is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful score. I really like Danny Elfman's score in the original one, and I think Michael Giacchino's is equally. I think they've all had really good scores, but I think it changed in the second one, in the second Amazing Spider-Man, because I think Hans Zimmer come on board, so I think it did change the score. But I really like the score in this. I think it's a really good score, and it really adds to the movie at times. It really, you're watching certain scenes, and the music really lifts a scene even further. And I really do think it's just got every great aspect. And Andrew Garfield does shine through as a really good Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And I like Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is great as well. But yeah, I Andrew Garfield. I mean, Tom Holland, he's the best because he's my first choice in the Watch Order Task Force here on this case file today. But Andrew Garfield is really good, and I really hope we get to see more of him. I think we're not done with him or Tobey Maguire in the MCU now with this multiverse idea. I think we're going to get more of them, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's going to be great to see. I would really like to see. I honestly can't see it happening. I know we've had rumours of it, like a Spider-Man 4, Amazing Spider-Man 3. I'd really like to see an Amazing Spider-Man 3, or Andrew Garfield just return for, I don't know, some sort of movie where he gets the light shone on him again. Maybe it's not an individual Spider-Man movie, but I would like to see more of him on screen. And it's a shame that his movies got, cut short. That trilogy got cut short. The second one, again, maybe that's another one where I need to rewatch it to give an honest opinion, but I'm going by representation of this first movie here. Best viewing pleasure. This is my second choice, The Amazing Spider-Man movie trilogy. Not trilogy, the two movies. Second choice in my watch order. So now it's time for the third choice in this case file today. What is my third choice going to be? Then we've got the final choice after this. But my third choice today goes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's right. One movie represents this franchise so far, the animated movie. I will say there is meant to be two. I think there's a sequel coming out in 2022, and it's called Across the Spider-Verse, and I think it's going to be a two-parter. So there's at least two sequels on the way for this Into the Spider-Verse franchise. So let's talk about this. This is Into the Spider-Verse. It features multiple Spider people. You've got, for instance, you've got Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy's character. You have multiple Spider-Man characters. You have, Peter Porky Parker, I think it is, the Spider-Pig character. Spider-Noir, played by Nicolas Cage. But the main guy in this is Miles Morales, the character from the comic book. So basically, you have Peter Parker, who's the main Spider-Man in the comic books, but I think it's probably quite a good few years old now. But basically, Miles Morales was another character who took on that mantle of Spider-Man, had a similar origin where he gets bit by a spider, and he becomes the second Spider-Man. Taking on that mantle of Spider-Man. Gotta be honest, I've read bits of the Peter Parker comics, but not massively. But I've never read the Miles Morales one, so I don't know much about the story, about the character. I know he's been featured in video games and stuff recently, but I've not played them video games. So for me, going into this movie, kind of not knowing much about the character, it was a lot of intrigue. And this was a 2018 animated movie by the directors of the Lego movie. I think it's the Lord and Miller, them guys. Really great work on the Lego movie. And this is it's fantastic. It's a big multiverse of Spider-Man. Basically, all the different Spider-Man get pulled into one universe, and then they have to take on the villain that is Kingpin in here, and you get a female version of Doc Ock as well, and a few other villains as well. And it's basically trying to save the multiverse in this movie and sending all the the Spider people back to the relevant universes, their own dimensions. And it's, tells the origin story of Miles Morales getting bit, and then kind of like Peter Parker takes him under his wing. Peter B. Parker from another dimension, after the Peter Parker on this universe gets killed by Kingpin. And it's this story where it doesn't feel like Miles is ready to take on these villains, and then we see at the end, he talks about he's got to take a leap of faith, because Miles keeps on saying, how will I know if I'm ready? And then he basically says it's you don't. It's a leap of faith, and we see an awesome scene near the end of the movie where he really does take that leap of faith, and he jumps off a building and he gets his own suit, and that's him becoming Spider-Man, and it's so empowering, it's so awesome to see. And overall, this movie, for an animated movie, I kind of didn't know what to expect. It is phenomenal. It is superb. I love the way they just get all these different Spider-Man characters in there. It's a lot of comedy in this movie, but it's entertaining as well, and it's there's a lot of like serious moments equally in this movie, which really balance things out, and it's an incredible comic book adaptation. I think it's great, and I can see there's tons of inspiration taken from this into the Spider-Man verse movie. I think if we didn't have this movie and if it wasn't so successful, we wouldn't have got the live action, the three Spider-Men in the same movie for No Way Home. I don't think it would have happened. I think it's all down to this movie being such a success, and it deserves to get sequels because it is a great, great movie. I will say the animation style is very different. It feels like it is off a comic book, off like an actual comic book. It's just taken from a comic book. It's got a really unique style. I remember seeing the trailers for it and I'm thinking, it looks kind of like it sort of like stutters the animation a bit. It's the way I don't know how you can describe the animation style, but it's like it kind of like feels like it's not super fluid. It doesn't like the characters don't move like super quick. It feels like it has like these little stutter moments, and I think you'll know what I mean. If you watch it, you'll know what I mean. But it doesn't. It's not slow. It's just the animated style. But I think it works really well. I've never seen this animation style before. Maybe this has been done tons of times before. I've just never noticed it. But I really like the style. I think it was different. Somewhat, like I said, it was somewhat fresh, and it was great to see. Taking center stage really, this new version of Spider-Man in Miles Morales, and to seeing a new character take that mantle, because we've had Peter Parker tons of times before. It's like, let's see something different, and they gave us a different movie, an animated movie. I think we have there's tons of different. You see a lot of these Batman animated movies, and they're never kind of like a lot of them are direct to DVD, and they never really get the big cinema experience. I thought this was going to be a similar kind of vibe, but it wasn't. It went to cinemas. I didn't see it at the cinemas. I seen it at home, but I watched it then, and I was like, yeah, I understand the hype of this movie because it is a really good movie, and it's well done, and it shows that people can enjoy an animated comic book movie, and it can make a lot of money and be hugely successful just as a live action one as well. And I think it's a great movie, and that is why it's my third choice in this watch order. So now I'm on to my last choice in this watch order today, and my last choice goes to, and like I said before, this isn't me saying this is the worst Spider-Man franchise. Definitely not. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying though is, for best viewing pleasure, I think this is the last one you want to watch. It's the OG trilogy, the original trilogy of Spider-Man movies directed by Sam Raimi. First movie was released in 2002, 20 years ago. That is bizarre. The second movie was 2004, and the last Spider-Man 3 was 2007. It was originally due to have a Spider-Man 4 until it got cancelled, and then we got the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Then instead, we see in this movie trilogy, not Tom Holland, I keep on saying Tom Holland. We see Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker as Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, and we see, I think the first two movies are great. The third movie is absolute garbage. I'm sorry if you enjoy it, that's fine. I think it's garbage. But I'm going to choose to represent this trilogy today. Some would probably say Spider-Man 2 is the best one, but for me, I always gravitate to the first Spider-Man movie. It's one I really enjoy. So Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, 2002. The main villain in this is Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and he is taking on Peter Parker, Spider-Man. It is, like I said, this was originally my second choice upon rewatching these movies, and kind of really just like looking at it and thinking, you know what? I think to someone who's never seen these before, who wants to get the best viewing pleasure, this is going to be at the last stop. This is going to be the last one you take a look at, and that may hurt a lot of people. And I think I've always enjoyed these movies, and especially the first one. And upon rewatching more recently the second one, I really enjoyed that. But I do think comparing them to the Amazing Spider-Man, first of all, live action wise, I think that one, I just think the tone is better. Upon rewatch, I enjoyed the tone a lot more. I think it's really goofy at times. The OG trilogy, the Sam Raimi ones, I think, especially, I'm going to get to something a little bit later on in the Crimes Against Movies case file, but there is some really cheesy moments in these, and again, it's not a bad thing, but I think it kind of also works against it sometimes, where like the Tom Holland ones they are goofy at times, but the tone is like the MCU is like this real world, and it's these guys who just get superhero powers, and it just tonally, it just feels a bit more watchable than these at times. And like, I think Tobey Maguire at times, he seems too goofy, too like just like some of the things he does, and when he's crying and when he's like walking to music and stuff like that, you're like, oh my god, what is going on here? But the first movie is great. It's a great movie. I think some notable scenes. I love the wrestling scenes. I think the race in the wrestling ring when he's got his prototype suit on, and the end battle with the Green Goblin is spectacular. One of the best movie battle scenes, fight scenes ever. It's phenomenal. It's a great trilogy, and I'm glad they brought him back, and I'm glad Tobey Maguire like agreed to come back. You know, maybe he was thinking, 20 years have passed. Should I return to No Way Home and return that movie where they featured 3 of the Spider-Mans from the live-action movies? He returned, and it was great to see him on screen again, and I really enjoyed it. It was nice to see, and it's nice knowing now as well that this is, you know, this idea of this multiverse, that everything makes sense, it's all canon, and everything does matter to these movies moving forward. And I really like that. And I think you shouldn't sleep on this trilogy. I think it's still good to watch, especially the first 2. I think they're really solid gold movies. But for me, for best viewing pleasure, I think there's definitely stuff in this where I feel like it drags it down to being last choice on this assignment today, and that is why this is my last choice in this watch order task force case file today. So that is it. That is my last choice, the OG trilogy. But definitely watch it. Definitely check out that first movie. It is well worth checking out. So before I finish this case off today, I just want to add a little note. I'm going to do the Crimes Against Movies case file. That's right, the Crimes Against Movies case file. Basically, in each assignment, sometimes I can notice something in all of these movies where I feel like something needs to be brought up that is an absolute crime. A crime against movies. And the crime against movies on the Spider-Man case file is this. Spider-Man 3. The cocky Peter Parker dance scene, the dance montage. So basically, he gets his black Venom suit, and then he gets all cocky Peter Parker. He's doing his dance down the street. We've seen the memes over the years. We've seen loads of photos online, videos. It is so cringeworthy. I mean, I watched the clip today again, and it's kind of like it makes me laugh a bit. But it's also, I mean, I remember watching that in the cinemas and thinking, oh my god, what is this? It is such a bad part of that movie, and that's what really, I think a lot of that movie is utter garbage. I mean, that's me putting it kindly, saying garbage. But the dance scene where he's going into the shop, he's getting a black suit on, he's doing some more dances, he's going down the street, he's pointing at all the ladies, going like, hey, I'm Peter Parker. It's so bad. It's really bad. Let me know what you think of this, but I think it's absolutely atrocious to watch. But it's definitely on my case file for the crimes against movies. He's on the phone as well, and he's saying to that girl who lives in the apartment, he's like, can you make me some extra cookies or something like that? I can't remember what it is. He asks for like extra food off her, and he's just like, you go and make me them. He's just super cocky Peter Parker. And yeah, it's funny. I think if you watch that clip on its own, it makes you laugh. But if you're watching that movie at the time and you're expecting this finale of this trilogy, and then you get scenes like that, and you just think, what have I paid a ticket for to see here? This is not Spider-Man. I don't know what this is. This is like Saturday Night Fever. I don't know. It's horrible, but it is definitely a crime against movies. It's going on the case file today in the Spider-Man assignment. So that is the assignment done and dusted on the Spider-Man assignment today, and hopefully the captain gives me the thumbs up and I can go and clean the old storage room with all them case files in where all them spiders, the big spiders, are lurking. Fingers crossed for me. But yeah, that's another assignment over and done with. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who have been listening to this recording, and all you Patreons out there who've been supporting the Patreon side of things. All your support is appreciated. I appreciate it. Me, Cadet AP, the captain appreciates it. The rest of the Watch Order Task Force, we all appreciate that you fund the department. So big thank you to you. This has been a fun assignment to look at. I think the Spider-Man franchise, I think watching these all back and going through them all has really given me a better appreciation to the character of Spider-Man overall, and I think it's made me want to rewatch these more, and some of the, especially like the Amazing Spider-Man, that is definitely one I'm going to watch more often now, because I really did enjoy that movie. I thought it was a really good watch. But yeah, they are the choices for best viewing pleasure for today, and that is the episode all done and dusted. So hopefully I will see you again soon. I'll see you for more Watch Order Task Force.